let's build a fat loss full body workout program from scratch from you. And no, you don't need to work out 5 days a week or spend 2 hours in the gym. In fact, you'll learn how you can get the same results starting with as little as 1 day a week of working out. So what is the actual goal of this program? Like what do I mean when I call it a fat loss full body workout? That just means it's going to help you build and maintain muscle as you lose body fat. This way, you won't get big and bulky and you can tone up and have a nice shape to your body, because we want to lose weight but not look like a melted ice cream cone here. And so this isn't just theory or stuff you can read from a book or watch on social media. This is from my own lived experience, losing over 80 pounds and keeping it off for over a decade now, as well as my experience helping other people just like you create the body, health, and energy that they didn't think was possible. And I've been doing this full time as a career through online coaching and in-person training for the past 7 years. So let's go ahead and break this down for you. So let's create your fat loss full body workout program. So we're going to start off with how many times a week do we actually train? How many days do you need to be in the gym and lifting? This is going to be purely determined on how many days you can realistically get into the gym. And what I mean by realistically is I want you to think and ask yourself, how many days in the gym can you make it to the gym, even on your worst weeks? So what typically happens when someone wants to get on this new health and fitness journey, motivation is really, really high. And so they set really lofty goals, like I'm going to make it to the gym 6 days a week, 7 days a week. I want you to think about, if you've done this in the past, what actually happens most times. I'm assuming you've burnt out. Maybe you did it for a week, 2 weeks, maybe even a month, but eventually it's just too much and you stop going and you fall off. And that's why I really want you to be realistic with yourself and say, how many times can you make it to the gym, even on your worst weeks, when things are going absolutely horrible, when the unexpecteds of life are happening. That's how we're going to determine, right? Whatever fits your schedule best. So I recommend 1 to 3 days out of the week. Because we are going to be programming a full body workout, 1 to 3 days a week of training is all you're really going to need. And so if you're just starting out, maybe you start with 1. If you've been consistent in the past and you feel like you can take on, maybe you start with 2, maybe even 3, but be real with yourself there. Because no matter what you pick, you're going to get amazing results. And your goal is to stay consistent. That is your number 1 priority when you're just starting out. It's not to optimize your workout. It's not to optimize your muscle building. All of that can come later. It's really about getting yourself into the habit of working out again, right? So that's how you're going to determine how many days you're going to be working out. Now, what exercises are we going to do? Like when we get to the gym, and so we're not confused, just looking at different machines, like what do we pick? Let's actually create that and have a plan going into your lifting session. So the way that I'm going to break this down, there's 2 ways to think about this, right? So the main movement patterns that any human being will do in everyday life are going to be a hinge. And so a demonstration of a hinge is picking a box off the floor, picking a kid off the floor. I don't know if you can see little Hazel girl right there, picking a dog up off the floor. Next is going to be a squat. So getting onto a toilet seat, sitting down, getting up, that is going to be a squat. A pull, if we are moving furniture or pulling a door open or whatever have you, that's going to be a pull movement. And a push. What movements do we do throughout the day that are push movements? This is going to be putting a box overhead or reaching up overhead or moving something. So these are all the main movement patterns that a human will go through in their life. And so how we can break that down even more is these are the body parts that those movements are going to primarily train, right? So when we're talking about a hinge, that is going to work your glutes and your hamstrings being the back of your leg, right under your glutes or the booty cheeks, right? The squat's going to primarily work the quads, and that's going to be the front of your legs here. And so when we talk about a pull, that is typically going to be your back muscles. And then for your push movements, that's going to be your chest and then your shoulders, right? So let's go over some examples of movements per all of these sections. So some examples of a hinge or movements that work the backside of your legs are going to be a RDL or Romanian deadlift. You could do that with a barbell, one of those straight long bars. You could do it with dumbbells. You could also do a good morning, and you could do that body weight. You could also do that with a barbell or dumbbell. We also have deadlifts, right? So picking something up off the floor, pushing hips back, that is also going to work it. And a hip thrust, right? A glute bridge. So we're bringing our glutes to the ceiling. These are all going to be hinge pattern movements. So when you're programming it, which we'll get to in the bottom section, those are some examples that you can pull from, or you can literally just Google hinge movement patterns, right? So let's talk about the squat next. What are some example movements or exercises that we can do for our squats? And so some are going to be a classic body weight squat. If you're just starting out, this is an amazing thing to do. You just body weight squat it. If you can't do that just yet safely, do it from a box squat, or you could do it off a chair. You could do it off of a couch. I have my bed right here. Use that and sit up to help you build that strength until you can do it body weight. We also have a goblet squat, which would be a front rack with a dumbbell or kettlebell, and then lunge there. And then we also have a lunge, which is essentially a single leg squat. If you're just starting out, stay on your 2 legs. That's going to be much easier. And so start with body weight. You can eventually work your way up to squats. So those are going to be for your hinge, squat. Let's go over the pull and push. So some examples of pull movements are going to be a TRX row. If you don't know what a TRX is, it's a suspension trainer. So like those 2 straps that you'll see people using, you can buy them. It's an amazing piece of home equipment. It's like 90 something bucks. And you can do literally everything with a TRX system. And it's very space friendly. You pack it up, it's portable. And so it's a good piece of equipment if you're limited on space and funds to buy equipment. You could also do cable rows if you have access to a gym. Also dumbbell. So DB stands for dumbbell. BB stands for barbell. You could do dumbbell, barbell row, you bent over, or with a machine, you pull. You can also do lat pull downs or pull ups, right? So last section, chest and shoulder, how are we going to work that? Like, what are some exercises there? Well, that's going to be a dumbbell, DB, or barbell chest press, classic. We have a machine chest press, machine shoulder press, push up. If you're doing it at home, you have the dumbbell, barbell, shoulder press as well. And then lateral raises with dumbbell. If you're doing it at home, you can grab like jugs of water or something. And so these are going to be the main things, and we'll get into how to actually put it all together and make a program out of it. This is just for you to have so you can pull from, have a pool to pull from. Anyways, oh, I forgot. Also accessories. This is going to be our last movement. And so how I categorize accessories are the single small muscles that aren't really a big bang for your buck. So when you're starting out with limited time, with limited energy and resources, like we want to focus on the big muscles first. And if you have time and if you want to work on specific muscles to like build them or bring them up, you can totally do that. And so what I consider accessory movements are things like abs, triceps, back of arm or bat wings if you want to tone that up, biceps, and then calves. Right. So again, you are better off just focusing on these things. But if you have a little bit more time, you have the energy to go ahead and add more in, you can pick from the accessory movements. Right. So that is going to be the top section. And so with this, what you're going to be doing is you're going to pick one exercise from each muscle group. Right. So one exercise from each muscle group. So we have the glutes and hamstrings. And so you'll pick some. Quads, you'll pick one. Back, you'll pick one. Chest and shoulders, so 2. And so 2 push. Sorry. We're gonna have 1 hinge and then 2 push. So glute and hamstring, I'll tie them together because no matter what you do for the hinge, you will be working the muscles, your glutes and your hamstrings for most of these exercises. And so you don't necessarily need to start with 2, right? So but with the push, you are going to pick 1 for chest, 1 for shoulders, because they are totally 2 different muscles. And there's a little bit of overlap. I won't get into it there. I won't confuse you. So pick 2 from here, 1 for shoulder, 1 for chest, and pick 1 movement for your hinge there, right? And then if you want to add on, you can add on additional accessory movements. So abs, triceps, biceps. Now, once you have that, we're going to have 5 to 6 exercises. So in our workout, we're going to have around 5 to 6 exercises, maybe 7. I wouldn't push more than that, especially as you get started. And so for each thing, we're going to do 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps, right? 3 sets, 8 to 12 reps. And so how you will progress this over time, progressive overload is a term that most people will know, or maybe you've heard it before. It's essentially like, how do we keep progressing so that we don't stall, so that our strength doesn't stall, so our progress doesn't stall? How do we keep on seeing progress? Over the course of the weeks, you're going to do 3 sets of 8, which is the lower. And then the next time you do that exercise, you're going to use the same weight, but you do it for 9. Same weight for 10. Same weight to 11. And once you reach the end of this end range, the 12, you're going to lower or increase the weight, lower it back down, and you'll continue that pattern, right? So there will come a point eventually where you can't progress anymore. And so there's different things we can handle, but this is going to give you a really solid program and a way for you to progress for a very long time, especially if you're a new person, a very, very long months and months and months and months. So don't worry about that. Just stick to this progress. And then as things come up, you can always ask questions or whatever it is. So how heavy should you be lifting? How heavy should you be lifting? What weight do you pick? How we're going to determine that is something called RIR, or reps in reserve. That's what that stands for. Essentially, a way to think about it is at the end of your set, how many more reps could you do with good form? That is a critical piece. I don't want you muscling things and just uncontrolled. We want to lift safe. Your safety when lifting is my number 1 priority. When I'm working with my online clients or even my in-person, safety is the number 1 thing. So I want you to lift with good form, controlling the weight. There is a time and a place for explosiveness, but as we're getting started, again, this is not the time. So lift safely and leave 2 to 4 reps left in the tank. What does that actually look like? And I know this is a lot, so if you're taking notes, I hope you are, but rewind it, write this out, take your time with it, and ask any questions that you have down in the comments, and we'll workshop this, right? So at the end of your set, let's say this is the first workout you're doing 8 reps. That means at the end of 8 reps, you could still do 2 to 4-ish with good form, right? So that's where I want you to live. That's how you determine the weight. So I'll give you an example. If you used 10 pounds for chest press, but you could do more than 4, maybe you could do like 5 or 6 or 10, go up in weight. It's too light. Vice versa. If you pick a weight, 10, and you fail, you couldn't even reach 8, that's too heavy. Go down. This is your sweet spot you want to live in, right? So that's how you're going to determine the intensity, and that's how you're going to determine how much weight to use. Now, for rest times, how much time do we need to rest? You need to take your rest time. You need to take your rest time. Unless you're really tight on time, then we can use things like supersets, doing things back to back. But it would serve you well to take at least 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes in between your sets to rest up. I know a lot of people, especially if you're used to circuit style training with just go, 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 you're just getting a good cardio workout. Will you build muscle? Yes, absolutely. But we want to maximize that. Like, why are we lifting in the gym? It's to get stronger, right? And so with that in mind, that is our number 1 priority. That is our number 1 goal. And so by resting, you allow your muscle enough time to actually be able to work hard when it's ready to work. So take your rest times if you can, 1.5 to 2 minutes between your sets. Now let's talk about exercise order. You have all of these things to pull from. How do you determine like what goes first, what goes second, what goes third? It's really what you prioritize, right? So typically I'll give you a very general difference between women and men. So typically women want to grow their legs, grow their glutes. They want to tone up their arm, tone up their back. And so their priority is probably going to look something like this. Glutes, number 1. Glutes and hamstring, number 1. Quads, number 2. Back, number 3. Chest, shoulders, after that, right? And vice versa. Men typically want to grow their chest. grow their arms, grow their shoulders, grow their back. So maybe theirs would look like chest first, then back, then shoulders. So whatever you prioritize, whatever muscle group you want to work on and build muscle, that is what you're going to hit first, because you are the freshest. That's where you'll be able to really get the most out of these movements. And so that is how you're going to determine what exercise to do. Right now, over here, it says what to do on rest days. A lot of people are confused. Like, should I be lifting all the time? Like, what do I do on my rest day? Just relax. If you want to go for some active recovery, maybe a little bit of stretching, mobility, hiking, walking, something relaxing, so you can actually allow your muscles to recover, because you have to remember that we don't build muscle in the gym. We tear it down, and as we recover, it comes back stronger. So when we recover is when we're actually growing and we're improving, not during the session. So on rest days, maybe you go for walks, maybe you have a step goal or whatever it is, that's what you can do. Now over here, what if I miss a day? Like, what if, you set out to do 2 days a week and then you hit the first one, you miss the second one? Well, that is one of the beautiful things about doing a full body program, because you are hitting the whole entire body in your workout. Even if you just went one day, you hit your entire body in that day, right? And so if you miss the workout, totally fine. Just start again next week, right? Just hit your next workout and continue. That's all it is, right? So again, take that to your advantage. Over here, I don't know if you can see it. It says soreness. So down here in the bottom, this is the last thing. Soreness, question mark? What do I mean by that? You should not be chasing being sore. And if you are really super sore, like you can't even walk, or like you're so sore you don't want to work out, you overdid it. Lower the weight, lower intensity, and that's totally fine, because you have to remember your number one goal, your number one priority, especially as you're getting started and as you're getting into the gym, is to stay consistent. If you hammer yourself and smoke yourself and feel like, I don't want to do this, like that doesn't sound fun. And so make this process more enjoyable, or more enjoyable as possible. And that will just help you make this a habit. I would honestly go easier than harder, right? Leave some in the tank, get into the habit. That's your number one priority there. And so this is how you build your entire full body workout program.